Hello, my name is Evelyn Powell, and today I'd like to talk to you about the driving factor for extreme sports athletes. First, I'd like to ask if you're comfortable, and when was the last time you were uncomfortable? How did you get over that feeling? I, like many of you, am immersed with the bigger picture of my life. College is truly a time of uncomfortable questioning. What is this all for? There has to be something more to live for, something past the exams, essays, careers, and social life. And in that line of questioning, I turn to the epic athletes of our time. Alaska is known for the extremes. Anyone else might question, why do people live there? Well, we know. It might be the scenery, the winter sports, or simply the romance of the last frontier. Whatever the reason, there is no denying that Alaskan residents are no strangers to the extremes. No matter how hard life gets up north, we stay. But why? I've always been intrigued by the extreme athletes and their will to live in the moment despite death tapping on their shoulder. The only way that someone can free solo El Capitan or run more than 200 miles through the desert is by embracing the now. I have been in awe of athletes such as Alex Honnold and Courtney Dauwalter since I learned of their existence, and I have become obsessed over their abilities to do extreme things most human beings have not and will not ever do. People do these extreme sports because they do not fear them the way that untrained people do. I would like to talk to you about three main things today. First of all, is the risk of the sport prevalent in the mind of extreme sports athletes? Second, is the correlation between mindset and success using failure and pride as motivation? And third, team effort versus individual feats, questioning why most extreme sports are done solo. So, do extreme sport athletes consider the risks that they are taking? While the risk remains prevalent, there are many steps leading up to the actual doing of the sport that minimizes it, and the athlete's training reduces the risk. An amateur should not partake in these activities because they expose themselves to a much higher risk situation than a highly skilled athlete. Eric Breimer, who is a PhD and is a lecturer in human sciences at Southern Cross University in Australia, says that we are definitely finding the traditional idea of no fear, having a death wish, having a risk-taking type of personality does not fit the extreme sports athlete. In fact, we find that they're very careful. We find that they have an in-depth knowledge of the environment that they're participating in, and we find that it actually takes years, and they do some really intense training to get the skills that they have. Breimer has seen that the extreme athletes think very hard about the situations that they are putting themselves in before they actually do. Free soloist Alex Honnold says, "I memorize the route and my moves so methodically as to remove all doubt." Now that we know that the risk is not prevalent, why don't we all go free soloing? That is where the mindset of an extreme athlete comes in. I'm sure you may have heard the term open mindset before. That is a key piece to an extreme athlete's feats. But what about when they fail? A group of scientists from the National Library of Medicine studied the personalities of extreme athletes and discovered that somatic emotions are defined considering the experience of body arousal, which means excitement or anxiety, whilst transactional emotions are related to the final output, such as pride or humiliation. Arousal can be perceived as excitement and anxiety in an identical external situation. There is a need to keep going back despite failure because the same emotion gets fed each time the athlete does the sport, which causes the arousal despite the success. Self-motivation is a great skill, but surely doing things solo gets lonely. Why do so many extreme sports athletes decide to do things alone rather than with a team? Most extreme sports can be done solo. While being on a team can not only be helpful, victory and losses are shared together. Why wouldn't an athlete want to bear that challenge alone? Hugh Mackenzie, who researches solo climbers, says that people who focus on benefits like self-actualization, finding purpose and meaning in life, emotions and regulation, and deepening connections with nature, rather than just to accomplish one set goal. This type of mindset shows that teams are not necessary to accomplish goals and sometimes actually get in the way of achieving things. Distinguishing extreme athletes from the general population helps us realize why they are called to these sports. We can all learn something from the skilled way extreme athletes take risks, the way that they see humiliation as motivation, and the examples they set for us that sometimes going solo is the answer. And as Courtney Dauwalter says, life is about getting comfortable, being uncomfortable, and then pushing through that painful experience to become a better human. Thank you.